I'm going to talk a little bit and then I'm going to let Mark follow up. Thank you so much to everybody for coming tonight. Thank you for those of you who held back on the meals. I guess we're a full house. Thank you particularly to my friends, colleagues, and so many of my mentors in this room, and those of you who came from out of town. So Mark and I actually were pre-gaming this last night. We were sharing a glass of wine. And Mark was talking about a listening exercise that his firm was doing yesterday, where they talked about, I know you're laughing, but it actually sounded really good, where you sit with somebody you think you already know really well, and you just listen and talk to them. And this was another brilliant Mark who mentioned that being from a small town in Indiana, he never would have made it to Princeton except for a girl who was ahead of him in class. His college admissions officer didn't even think to look outside of Indiana. Mark pointed out to me last night that he's from Kalamazoo, 150 miles or less away from Northwestern, but until he was offered a scholarship, he had not even heard of the university. I grew up literally in Cambridge, Massachusetts, with Harvard Yard as my backyard, but I was completely unprepared on my college visits. I was mystified as to how I would ever fit into what appeared to be an impossibly glamorous series of closed communities. And even when I arrived at UVA, it still took at least a semester. I know, let's go Wahoos. At least, Allie, this shout out to you. It took at least a semester, more like my first year, to navigate the grounds. I got some really bad academic advice, and I really had no idea how to or whether I could ask for help. I just thank God for two amazing professors that got me on my feet and got me going. It's all John Reed's fault, of course. And when John introduced us to Holy Trinity and we were talking to Timba, he mentioned an extraordinary statistic that 98% of the students here go on to a college. And Mark and I looked at each other and said, that's not good enough. They should go to the right school. They should find their college. And the only way to do that is to actually see, taste, smell, and walk around. To bounce ideas off each other. And for those of you who have been on these visits or organized these visits, getting organized for these visits, getting on a plane sometimes for the first time, preparing questions, interviewing for college is a huge step towards adulthood, self-determination, and success. The first few years of this program started small. We've now expanded to the East Coast. And maybe most importantly, Holy Trinity students who have passed through our program are now teaching each other. There's a boot camp now. They've designed the curriculum. They're asking their questions. They're talking about their experiences. Mark and I are determined that these amazing students find the best academic home, and who knows, after standing in Harvard Yard, as you saw, their dream may become a reality. Am I on time? Yep, good. Okay, rowing. Thanks to my amazing teammates who showed up tonight. And I started rowing about 4 years ago with a wonderful group of women. I quickly learned that rowing is not just a path or a road, it's more like a super highway of opportunity for female athletes to enter elite colleges and universities around the US. Under Title IX, equal resources are to be devoted to men and women's sports, and that opens up a huge number of spots for girls' access to scholarships. Right on Holy Trinity's doorstep, there's a world-class rowing facility designed by Jeannie Gang, part of Mayor Emanuel's development of the Chicago River Corridor. But at the Clark Street Boathouse, when I went to join in a regatta, I noticed that almost all the photos on the wall could be taken from New Trier Lake Forest. There were very few faces of color, and certainly very few middle or low-income participants. The problem is the fees are so high that the very kids this public facility was designed to serve are being priced out. $3,000 a year just isn't possible for a huge percentage of Chicagoans. And then I started to remember my tiny little high school in Boston, Massachusetts. The Windsor School is now known nationally and even internationally for its crew program. They are coached by and have produced Olympians out of a student body about the same size as Holy Trinity. They have a river on their doorstep, just like Holy Trinity. Windsor also started small with borrowed equipment Anabarra Boathouse. And I'm going to tell a short story that I think says pretty much everything I want to about crew, and this is a shout out to my coach, Hope. Last year I remember standing in the sleet. This is not atypical, the freezing rain. The docks are flooded, they're up past our wellies. For those of you who don't know, Nutra Women's Masters are on something called the ditch, and yes, it's a sanitary channel. And I walked up to Hope, and instead of retreating inside or complaining, Hope looked over at me with a huge smile and said, "Let's go have an adventure." So I am committed to offering girls at Holy Trinity the same joy, chance for success, and lifelong skills that I've discovered in middle age. As some of my crew teammates know, starting something new is risky. Lots of folks will tell you why it's a bad idea, cannot be done, or ask, "Who the heck are you?" Heck being polite. Mark and I have found an extraordinary partner in Holy Trinity. We've identified a need, found some available resources, and we're just jumping right in that muddy water.
I think you see why I let her go first. Before I do anything else, I want to start with some personal thank yous. First of all, to Casey Sassani. Where's Casey? Casey, you all know Casey for all the good work she does as Vice President of Advancement for Holy Trinity. But Liza and I owe her a huge debt of gratitude for actually making our idea of the college visit into a reality. Because she did so much more than just cash our checks. She took the role of chaperone, of travel agent, really basically the general manager of the program. And I quite honestly, I think the program couldn't possibly have been as successful if she hadn't done that. So Casey, thank you for making us look so good. Second, thanks to Tim Bob for being open to our sometimes strange and novel ideas. It's always been rewarding to support Holy Trinity, of course, but it's so much more fun to know there's an opportunity to innovate together. And Tim, thanks for being willing to think out of the box with us. And I hope, where is it? Right here. Oh, okay. Thank you so much. And I hope we'll have a chance to do a lot more of it. Also, thank you to my law firm, Bartlett Beck, who has served as a sponsor tonight. And especially to all of my partners and colleagues who are here with us supporting the cause. It really means a lot to Liza and me that all of you have turned up tonight, and we really sincerely thank you for that. And then finally, I'll get around to the most important one, a very big thank you to my wife. For being a wonderful partner in life for these 33 years, but also for being a fantastic partner in the charitable endeavors that we've done together. It's been an absolute blast working on these projects. So tonight, and really for the last few months, a lot of people have asked us, why Holy Trinity? We aren't Catholic, as most of you know, not on the Catholic Charities mailing list even. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Unlisted. We don't even have an obvious connection, really, to this school. And so what is it that about Holy Trinity that caught our interest? The answer comes from something that Eliza and I like to call strategic philanthropy. Because when you're like us and you don't have the same money that Bill and Melinda Gates have, they're not here, are they? It's important to be strategic with your giving. And for us, that means finding organizations that give you bang for the buck. Holy Trinity has done that for us in very many ways. And I mentioned Casey's stewardship of the college visit program. Just as an example of what I'm talking about, after the first year of the program, and after the first wave of students who had participated were off and in their colleges, we sat down for kind of a year-end wrap-up. And Liza and I were shocked to learn that we had change coming back. There was money left over that we could apply to next year's program. That just doesn't happen. Most of you who give charitably know that doesn't happen very often. It was incredible to see how well our money was being stewarded and how well it was being used. And that inspired us to expand the program so that we could reach more students. And we did that. Holy Trinity gives us an amazing bang for every dollar that we donate and for every dollar that you donate too. And of course you don't probably need me to tell you this, but if you want to see living proof, and if you haven't done it already, take a moment and introduce yourself to any of the students and alumni that are here tonight. You will not be disappointed, I promise you. I actually think you'll be inspired, and most of you already have been, as the paddle race showed, by their successes. I cannot think of a better way to invest in the future than to invest in these young men and women. So I will close now. It's late. And in closing, and especially I want to say this to all of you who have done so much for Holy Trinity for so many years. We're new to this program. It's a wonderful honor for us to be recognized for our small part in supporting this mission. Thanks very much.